The escalating conflict in West Asia is now taking a tragic toll on the Indian seafarers, with 3 more Indians confirmed dead following a strike on the tanker MT Settebello near the coast of Oman. The latest casualties take the total number of Indian seafarers killed in the ongoing crisis to 6. The incident is part of a worrying pattern of attacks on commercial vessels operating in the Gulf region. On June 8th, tanker MT Marivex carrying 24 Indian nationals came under attack. Fortunately, all crew members were rescued safely. And now fresh concerns have emerged after reports of a strike on MT Jalveer off the coast of Oman near Shinas Port. Around 20 Indian crew members were on board the vessel. Indian authorities say they are closely monitoring the situation. The developments have once again highlighted the critical role played by Indian seafarers in the global economy. India is among the world's largest suppliers of maritime manpower, with more than 3 lakh Indians working in the sector. Indians account for nearly 10 to 12% of the global seafaring workforce, serving as captains, navigation officers, marine engineers and technical specialists on vessels across the world. Yet, for thousands of Indian sailors still navigating conflict-prone waters, uncertainty remains high as tensions continue to rise across West Asia. Ensuring the safety and security of Indian seafarers has become an urgent national priority. Let's listen in to what and how India has responded.
When this particular attack happened on the ship Settebello, we lodged a strong protest with the American side. We called in the American CDA, and he was conveyed our deepest concerns on the ongoing incidents of attacks. As also, we registered a strong protest with them. We conveyed that the welfare of our seafaring community is very important, and the attacks that are happening must stop. We also conveyed that that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward for peaceful resolution of the conflict, and that there should be unimpeded access through the Strait of Hormuz in keeping with international law. So we made our position very clear on each of these points, while reiterating how important the lives of our people are, their welfare and safety.
And I'm being joined by Air Commodore Dr. Ashminder Singh Behel, Defence and Strategy Expert, as well as Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, who's a Defence and Geopolitical Expert. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. Well, let's just straight go to you. We've spoken even in the past about this. And now it's just an unfortunate development. You have more casualties from India for what just emerges as no fault. And this is worrying because it's not going to be an isolated case. There seems to be concerns about how an escalation in the West Asia crisis could make this an imminent danger a reality. Air Commodore Ashminder Singh Behel.
Yes, ma'am. I think thank you very much, and Jai Hind, for calling me, and also being there with a very esteemed colleague of mine whom I greatly respect, General Rajan. So let me tell you this, a few things. First thing is that we have, given our protest. We have called the charged DFS, and we have said that there should be de-escalation, protection of commercial shipping, and freedom of navigation. We have also, one thing we have perfected when Lieutenant General, I stand corrected, when General VK Singh was there as Minister of External Affairs, Minister of State. And also Sushma Swaraj was there. If you remember, we had done Op Rahat, Op Maitri. And we have now perfected our rescue procedures with respect to other nations, and the embassies are closely involved. So we have been able to lift off 21 out of the 24 in the case of Settebello, and we have been able to save them. But I have some reservations, I have reservations that first of all, is our response adequate? I don't consider it. When we have called charged affairs, we have not called Sergio Gore. Our Minister of External Affairs has not spoken to Marco Rubio. Do Indian lives matter? Is the question we have to answer. We saw our Indians being brought in shackles last year in 3 aircraft that came to India from America when Colombia protested and they didn't let the aircraft land. And in our case, our aircraft landed. And secondly, is it legal to have a naval blockade? No, it is not legal. It's not been sanctioned by the United Nations Security Council. Have we said that? Have we condemned it? No, we have not condemned it. Secondly, and very importantly, UN clause, which is Article 44 of UN clause, clearly states that any straits, they are international waters. They are not like Suez Canal. They are not like Panama Canal that anybody can blockade them. And what are the rules of engagement? International humanitarian laws are very specific about it, that civilians cannot be killed or cannot be brought to danger for an action which is military in nature. But have we brought that seriousness? If we don't, Sneha, respect ourselves as Indians, Americans will not respect us.
I think
They call us
that's
as
a very strong statement, Commodore. It's a very strong statement, sir. You know, to say if we don't respect ourselves as Indians, you know, our heart goes out for every Indian who is dying. And as you mentioned, this is something that India will have to possibly take up far more strongly now, considering the West Asia crisis is escalating. But Major General Rajan Kochhar, let me get you in at this point. How do you look at what Air Commodore really spoke at this time, what Ashminder Singh Behel spoke? You know, strong words to say that if India doesn't respect itself, if Indians don't respect themselves, it's going to get hard.
Thank you, Sneha. See, Air Commodore Bell has made a very emotional and it's a very sensitive matter also, because after
It is, absolutely.
lives have been lost, and somebody has to be held accountable for these loss of lives. But I would also like to bring in a perspective. Uh, you see, undoubtedly, I agree with whatever Air Commodore has said. But my perspective here is that what business had this vessels got to move in these areas without sanction, without permission? See, you are in a war zone right now. And whatever movement you are doing in this zone has to be sanctioned by both the countries, the United States as well as Iran. Uh, these are merchant vessels. They have their own business interests here. And the peculiarity here is that the owner is somebody else. The person who is running that vessel is somebody else. And the third component are the seafarers, who are the employees, or who are the people who have been hired by the merchant company. So now we come first and foremost aspect. What I was reading just now was that there was no permission given for these vessels to move in this area. So who is to be held responsible for that? That is point number one. Point number two, we talk about international laws and conventions. Yes, they are existing, the UN Convention of Law and Seas, but who is a signatory to that? Because Iran is not a signatory to that. US is not a signatory to that. China is not a signatory to that. And we have seen total dadagiri of happening in these seas, in the South China Sea also. We talk about freedom of navigation. Where is the freedom of navigation in South China Sea, and what has the UN been able to do about it? A similar kind of situation, we talk about international rule-based order. Who is following the international rule-based order in this war, you tell me? Has the US followed it right from day one, and Israel been able to follow it?
Absolutely.
What is in Lebanon today? I'll give you that example of Lebanon also, and the humanitarian aspects also. The civilian areas are being bombed there. What happened when the school was bombed in Iran by the US? So there is nobody who is going to check a power like the US. And my last point is, I will add to what Air Commodore Behel is saying. The Indian Navy has to now play a slightly more important role, because so far it is doing the monitoring role. We have 5 warships here, I'm told. There is a there is an operation already existing now energy, Urja Shakti kind of an operation. It's called, and if I translate it to English, it is called energy security. So there are 5 Indian warships of the Indian Navy here, but they are only responsible for monitoring or ensuring security of these vessels once they leave these areas onto the Arabian Sea. So I think now possibly a stronger stance will have to be taken
Okay.
by the government here, and authorizing the Indian Navy now to ensure that no Indian vessels are allowed to move inside, outside without proper sanctions, because this kind of checks and balances have to be done, because it's very easy to blame the government, but here the blame should lie on the person who has not taken the sanction to move in the ships
You know
here.
that I'll tell you why that is a problem, and I mean I don't need to tell you. I'll tell the viewers because why is that really a problem? Because unlike, uh, say, Navy or Defense Forces or whatsoever, when it comes to merchant navy, you're often part of a vessel which is carrying the flag of another country, which is operated by a company that is outsourced. So there are three parties that are involved. The seafarers themselves really have no, they really can't say we will not go because there's multi-billion dollars that's involved. There's demands and supplies that's involved. That's one part of it. There's the economics part of it. The other side of it is, I mean, which country do we really raise it with? Air Commodore Ashminder Singh Bahl, this is where I want you to come in. It's a complex
Absolutely.
web. It is a complex web. The way these merchant navy vessels, for that matter, oil tankers, gas for that matter, and these are huge security hazards. What we are learning right now, that US has admitted to two Hellfire missiles into the ship's engine room. What if this was on a tanker that was loaded? On the tanker, if it was a gas tanker for that matter, these are huge concerns, security threats, human threats, so many layers to it, and it's a very complex issue. How does one really take it? It's not one country involved. So many
Absolutely, and
tripartite.
it is also an environmental threat whenever you have such leakages of oil that are taking place in millions of barrels. Each of these VLCCs especially carry 1.9 to 2 million barrels of oil. And I totally agree with you and General Rajan on all the issues, but it was not an emotional outburst. When I tell you this, that if one American soldier is killed, Trump says, I
Oh,
will
yes.
go to full-fledged Iran war. When when Israelis say that if one Israeli is killed, I will bomb the hell out of Beirut and Lebanon. I think there is a lack of the similar sensitivity when we call a charge d'affaires and not the ambassador, because we are undertaking a trade deal which is still going on. We are negotiating a trade deal, but that we have been negotiating for last 1 year plus. And also when they call us friends and they impose 25 plus 25% tariff, I don't understand any logic of that. And how can you call somebody a friend, and how can you call somebody a strategic partner when you lap on them the highest tariffs with respect to one or two countries in the world? And then now also in the trade negotiations, they're talking of 12.5% tariff, which is as much tariff for 50 countries. So what is the distinction with respect to India? Now,
Right.
this is where there are one or two more things that I want to talk about. There's a young cadet, deck cadet Aditya Sharma, who died in this three. And there was another was an engine fitter, and third was a chief engineer. What I want to say is, besides the UN clause, there is also international law and customary practice, which makes sure that unlike the Suez Canal and Panama Canal, any straits anywhere in the waters, national straits, are international waters. So the point, and also the marinas that we come in now, in this, the marinas that we come in, now they are in so many different flagged ships. That flag indicates the country from which that ship has originated. But it doesn't mean that it does not have Indians. Like you rightly said, 10% of the world's seafarers are Indians.
15%, sir. 15%.
And absolutely 15%, like you rightly said. Now, third is a Jalveer, which is actually an Indian, tanker, and that has also been attacked today. So,
Yeah.
what is the use of calling that charge d'affaires when they believe that Indian lives don't matter? You ask an American and they will tell you the same thing. Indian lives don't matter. You see whether you are in America or whether you are here in India. And what is the point of calling chargé d'affaires? I don't understand why has the Minister of External Affairs not, Minister of External Affairs also said that Chinese is a strong economy. So not use this word, but it meant the same. We cannot take panga with them.
Right.
Now, I want to say, is there any media channel today willing to ask this question to the government? What are you doing with Indian lives? And when we talk of tariffs, why are we so scared of the Americans? I mean, if you see Chinese,
I think when it comes to tariffs,
last question I want to ask you. Last question. Why is not a single Chinese ship attacked? JV Innovation was, attacked on 4th of May, but that was attack carried out by the Iranians and not by the Americans.
I'm completely out of time. Major General Rajan Kochhar, do you want to make a very quick ending comment? Because I want to make a comment. He asked a question to the media. I want to respond to that. But before that, Major General Rajan Kochhar.
I'll just make a comment. Was there a better way in detaining the ship? This is not a hostile ship. This ship is not endangering anything to your security. It's not armed. It does not have any weapons on board. So, cannot the US Navy move in, take over the ship and detain the ship? Firing at a ship, I think, is an act of cowardice because you are fighting against an unarmed enemy who cannot respond to your fire. So my question to the US and to the Indian authorities is, what business did the United States have to fire at an unarmed ship, knowing fully well it was a civilian merchant vessel?
Right, right. I think you both have brought in some very, very important points, and that's really the purpose of ensuring that these are the conversations that don't get hidden behind just one single headline. These are big concerns for a whole lot of Indians. I am an Indian. I'm an army officer's daughter. I'm a seafarer's wife. The connections go far, far beyond everything. And I think a whole lot of people really are watching, because it's not just about seafarers. At the end of the day, a whole lot of Indians are caught in this crossfire, whether it be in the Middle East, the Gulf countries, the passages, the flights, a whole lot of Indians who are out of India really caught in this crossfire. I think a lot more of focus that's required as this war only escalates. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me.